We find out many times that one of the most powerful things whenever we're talking with somebody who is a non believer is to show the validity of the Bible, show the truthfulness of the Bible, show the power of the Bible. And one of the first times that I debated an atheist, and it was in a formal setting, I went to one of my spiritual mentors years back and I said, how would you start? I mean, we're going to be on TV. This is going to be recorded. This is very important. I want to be able to give one of the most solid openings possible. Where should I start? And he said, well, this is just the easiest thing, Brad, is to go to the prophecies. Go to the prophecies. Stay in the Bible and go to the prophecies. And I did. And I'm going to share some of those with you today. And I found out this is a most effective means of convincing, not winning an argument. Please understand me, not that, but in showing how powerful the Holy Scriptures are and how our God is in control of the time, the frame of time all over, and just how supernatural is our faith and what it means. When I came to this one gentleman and I had talked with him, and we met afterward in a coffee shop after the debate, and he was kind of flustered. And he said, I don't get what is your faith? And I said, right there, that book. And I pointed to the Bible that was on the center of the coffee table. And he said, what's so special about it? And I said, well, they're prophecies. There are things that couldn't happen on natural terms, on human terms. And then he said, one of the greatest invitations to me, okay, show me some. And I did. And that's what I'm going to show you. I want to start off by giving you Micah and Zechariah's prophecies, and then how you will be able to show these. Micah was written about 500 years before Christ came to earth in Bethlehem. And in Micah chapter 5 and verse 2, Micah is giving a very, very powerful prophecy here, which is recognized the world over. Bethlehem Ephrathah, you are small among the clans of Judah. One will come from you to be ruler over Israel for me. His origin is from antiquity, from ancient times. You see, he bends the timeline. He's going to drop in. Now, this is the first thing that I want you to know. Archaeologists generally agree that Bethlehem at the time Christ was born on earth couldn't have been more than 100 people in population. See, today it's in the tens of thousands. I think it might be 30 to 40,000 now, if I'm not mistaken. But back then, these were barns and cows lowing, and sheep were calling out at the night, and it was a quiet, serene hillside of maybe 90 inhabitants, 100 inhabitants. So to say, of all the places in the world where the Messiah, the Mashiach, the anointed one, would be born, the deliverer that Israel's been waiting for hundreds and hundreds of years would be born in this tiny little squalid town. You would think if you and I were writing this and trying to invent a religion, would put him smack in the middle of Rome, right down in Alexandria, in a major city, at least in Jerusalem, where the word would get immediately. It's almost as if you're trying to get him and put him in an obscure place away from any mainstream. Bethlehem is going to be about 5 to 5.5 miles away from Jerusalem, tucked away, and yet here's what it says. You are small, but out of you will come one to be ruler over Israel for me. In Micah chapter 5, 2. So then when we go to Luke chapter 2, and you know this passage, and it says that he is born in Bethlehem, Luke chapter 2, verses 4 through 7, tell us that this one is going to be born in Bethlehem. And of course he was. It's a very, very powerful passage, especially in the length of time between the prophecy and the fulfillment. That's one. Now, another one is fulfilled in Matthew chapter 27, for example, when Judas has the betrayal agreement with the priests. And it's decided that he's going to betray, and he'll receive his payment of 30 pieces of silver. And what is so striking about that, and if you'll take down your notes, we'll go ahead over to there, is that you'll see the fulfillment over in Zechariah chapter 11 and verse 12. I'm going to read this for you because this one is very unique because, again, humans writing this on their own would say, well, 100 is a good strong number, and gold is our most precious, but 30 pieces of silver. During the course of a story, a prophetic story, Zechariah then is given the prophecy by God to bring this out. Then I said to them, if it seems right to you, give me my wages. If not, keep them. So they weighed my wages, the betrayal of the shepherd, 30 pieces of silver. Zechariah chapter 11 and verse 12. You go to Matthew chapter 27, you're going to see this also. You will see that this is fulfilled, as we all know. I'll bring you one that's very interesting since we're in Zechariah. Zechariah chapter 9 and verse 9, there is a celebration that Zechariah is bringing. Rejoice greatly, daughter Zion. Shout in triumph, daughter Jerusalem. Behold, your king is coming to you. He's righteous and victorious, humble, and riding on a donkey, on the colt, the foal of a donkey. And so we're saying this, but a leader would come in on a charger, on a stallion, chariot in great grandeur. But you're saying the greatest one ever to walk the earth, the deliverer of millions and billions, is coming in on the, put it this way, the child of a donkey, the foal of a donkey, not even the donkey itself. How humbling is this? That's a beast of burden. Why would you do that? And he's coming through the gate, but the whole of the Jerusalem and all of Israel is going to celebrate on this. Well, you see that happens in the triumphal entry. On that day that he comes in, Jesus comes in during the Passion Week. He comes in, as you see in the Gospels. And in that, it is reminding you in the Gospels that this is a fulfillment of prophecy of Zechariah 9 and verse 9, that Jesus will come and he will be riding on the foal, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. Amazing things here, amazing things that you can see here. And then let me give you two more that you might want to look up, and we'll talk about them some more. If you'll mark these down, Psalm 22 is known as the Messianic Psalm. It's written by David, and I'll just give you one. We'll talk some more in our next lesson here, but the first one is Christ cries out the identical passage and phrase that's found in Psalm 22:1. Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. It is, my God, why have you forsaken me? Well, that's found in Psalm 22 and verse 1, 800 years before Christ would go. As a matter of fact, it's longer than that. It'd be about 1,000 years before this would happen. Jesus would cry this out. So a millennia before. But there's even more. You say, well, somebody can plan to say something before they die. That's true. We'll talk about some things within that psalm in our next lesson, that if Jesus was just a man, he couldn't have planned out. But you also want to remember this. As the sundown was coming, then there was a nationwide curse if a dead body was hanging on a tree. And so the Pharisees are running around, the rabbis are telling the Roman soldiers, you need to get every one of these bodies down before that sun crests below, sinks beneath beneath the horizon, or there's a great curse on Israel. So they go around, and as you know, the crucifixion, they are breaking the legs of those so that they would only have a few minutes to go, and they would suffer. But Jesus is already dead. Within 3 hours, he dies. It's a shocking thing. But whoever would be in authority as a coroner there said, this man is dead. He's absolutely dead. So they didn't break his legs. And the scriptures tell you that's in fulfillment of the scripture, which you would find in Psalm 34 and verse 20. Psalm 34 and verse 20, that none of his bones would be broken. An amazing thing, since everybody else's legs were broken and everybody else was put into damage there. So we've seen some pretty striking prophecies here, and these are just a few. If you would take it, just the prophecies about Jesus alone, they're called messianic prophecies, you would have over 313 prophecies just about the Messiah to come. So to fit every one is absolutely fantastic. It's amazing, it's supernatural, and it's absolutely true. We'll have our next lesson. We'll talk some more about Psalm 22.